Paul. I'm the pastor of Livingstone's Christian Reformed Church, and I'm doing a bunch of little videos to try to help us understand the Bible better when we read it. The Bible is full of imagery that very much connected with the lives of ancient people, but we are quite divorced from it all. And so I wanted to explain some of these elements. My last video I talked about altars and these pillars of fire and Tower of Babel and Jacob's ladder and the chariot of fire that were all set to bridge the gulf between the heavens and the earth. Now, if you begin, for example, the book of Daniel, and we're just going through the book of Daniel right now in our adult Sunday school class, if you understand the story of Daniel, you'll see that Daniel, who is a young Jewish, probably a teenager or a young adult, gets taken to Babylon, and they obviously took the brightest and the best, people that showed capacity and promise. And what they teach Daniel is astrology. In fact, to be a Chaldean or a Babylonian in that world was assumed to be was another word for being an astrologer. And so Daniel is taught astrology. Now that's a funny thing because everybody in the ancient world believed in astrology with the possible exception of the Jews, who resisted it. And they resisted it because of their understanding of who was God and how, in fact, again, if you read in the story of Genesis 1, unlike many other creation myths, the elements of creation are not divine. God alone is divine. He is in charge, and that's unique to the Jewish story. But Daniel is taken to Babylon, and he is taught astrology. Why? Well, why is because in the ancient world, as we've talked about before, everything flows from heaven to earth. Now, when I say heaven, again, we modern people, at least if you're a Christian or a theist, you think, well, that's the place of God. And if you ask the question, well, where is heaven? You'd say, well, where is kind of the wrong answer. And that's true. But in the ancient world, as in for many people today, say, where is heaven? People will say, up. Well, why do we say that? Well, this is, again, our connection to the ancient world. And the reason astrologers studied the stars, you think of the Magi who come to visit Jesus at the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew, the reason they study stars is because they very much believe the flow of control is from the heavens to the earth. If you read, in fact, in Paul in the New Testament, Paul will talk about powers and principalities and forces in the heavenlies. They're all talking about these forces that are controlling what people do in the world. And so Daniel is taught astrology, and it is assumed that if you can read the sky, you can know what's coming to earth. It's not unlike if you can read the weather over the Pacific, you can have an understanding of what is coming to the weather over California. This is how ancient people believed. Now this remains today. People will continue to look up horoscopes. There are people who continue to believe these things, that in fact the stars control. This is a little more difficult in our context because we've got a pretty determined belief that in fact what the earth is a planet revolving around the sun, and the sun is just one of many solar systems and one of billions of galaxies and so on and so forth. Yet all of this language of the Bible, when it talks about the heavenly host, it's not just talking about, secularists will think about angels. Well, yes, angels, but also stars in some strange way. They're connected. And again, there's a pretty important differentiation between how, say, the non-Jews imagined this and how the Jews imagined this. But in their talking back and forth, you'll often find language carrying over back and forth and people connecting over it. So, again, this is just kind of a small lesson about how to read the Bible, how to understand all of this language that's in the Bible, to hopefully, when you read the Bible and you bump into all of this talk about heavenly hosts and stars and astrology and all those kinds of things in the Bible, understand the meaning of it within their context. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave me a question either on my Facebook page or on the YouTube page, or send me an email or send me a tweet. So thanks for watching.